SwayamPrabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Dear students, you are welcome in this class. I am Dr. Dinesh Kumar, Principal Scientist, Division of Agronomy, ICAR, Indian Agricultural Research Institute, Pusa Campus, New Delhi. This lecture belongs to the course Agronomy of Oilseed, Fiber and Sugar Crops, and the title of the lecture is Nutrient, Water and Weed Management in Sugarcane Crop. So in this case, learning objectives are to understand the nutrient and water management practices in sugarcane and to describe the weeds and their management. So there are in total 3 aspects in this lecture. One is related to management of nutrients and other is related to management of water, where we will discuss different irrigation methods and scheduling, and also you will see different weeds and how they are controlled in sugarcane crop. So let us check some glossary. Borax, also called as sodium borate, naturally occurring mineral and a salt of boric acid used to supply boron to crops. Gypsum, it is composed of calcium sulfate dihydrate, 2 molecules of water used to supply sulfur to the crops and ameliorate alkali soils. Integrated weed management, it is comprehensive approach to control weeds combining multiple strategies to manage them. It includes cultural practices, mechanical practices, biological methods and some chemical methods. So all are integrated to control the weeds. Intensive cropping, it involves maximizing land productivity by use of higher inputs like labor, fertilizers, pesticides. It aims to produce highest possible yield from a limited amount of land. Means in intensive cropping, you are taking more and more number of crops regularly from the field where heavy amount of inputs like fertilizer, irrigation, seeds, etc. is used. Millable canes, sugarcane that is ready to be harvested and processed for sugar production. Nitrate leaching, process in which nitrate ions primarily from fertilizer move through soil and enter groundwater. So nitrate leaching basically happens under conditions when there is excess fertilization and excess irrigation or excess application of water, and this situation particularly under light texture soils is more severe. Soil testing, analyzing soil samples to determine their nutrient content, composition and other characteristics. Sugarcane trash, leaves, tops and other residues left in field after sugarcane stalk harvested. That is important byproduct of sugarcane. Water requirement, depth or amount of water needed to meet water loss through ET. ET is evapotranspiration or amount of water needed by crops to grow optimally. Now we go to the main topic of this part, that is nutrient management. It involves careful planning, monitoring and supply of nutrients through different sources. In sugarcane, it focuses on optimizing use of nutrients to ensure that crop receives the right balance of nutrients for healthy growth. So in this case, we need to supply the nutrients as per demand of the crop. If demand is more, particularly during tilling phase or during ground growth phase, then the supply should be more, and towards the ripening or maturity, the demand for nutrients is less. So therefore, supply should be less. So as per need of the crop, nutrients should be applied. This requires soil testing to determine nutrient levels and then applying nutrients accordingly to avoid overuse, which can lead to environmental pollution and reduce profit. So out of several strategies, soil testing is the best way to supply nutrients. In this case, we can test the status of available nutrients, and based upon the supply from the soil, we can apply nutrients based upon the recommendation coming from the soil testing lab. Now we start with nitrogen. So nitrogen is definitely important for all the plants, and so is the case of sugarcane also. It is part of chlorophyll, part of RNA, DNA, and proteins cannot be made by plants without nitrogen. So it has very important role. In sugarcane, it promotes tilling, it promotes growth, greenness of the plant, and so forth. So what happens when deficiency of nitrogen is there? So stalks are short, means height reduced, slender, they are thin, and fewer tillers, reduce growth, and entire plant becomes light green or pale green. Deficiency comes on old leaves because this particular nutrient is mobile in the plant system. Deficiency causes dieback of old leaves. Necrosis occurs on tips and margins of recently matured old leaves. Now, what are the soil conditions where one can observe nitrogen deficiency in sugarcane cultivation? So, soils which are basically low in organic matter, because nitrogen is part of proteins and proteins are there in organic matter. If we lack organic matter, we lack nitrogen in the soil. And also light texture soils are deficient in nitrogen, particularly when there is heavy rainfall or excess irrigation, then leaching of nitrate can occur. Also, if waterlogging conditions are there, then denitrification losses of nitrogen can also occur in the form of N2 or N2O. Soils exhausted by intensive cropping, taking many crops in a year, then also we can experience the nitrogen deficiency. And acid soils having pH less than 6 or alkaline soils having pH 8 may also have nitrogen deficiency. Now you can see picture how this nitrogen deficiency is seen in sugarcane. So you can see the lower leaves on the first picture, you can see the lower leaf is getting yellow, and in another case also the middle picture, the lower leaves are getting yellow and upper leaves are green. Coming to phosphorus deficiency, it is also important macronutrient needed essentially for plant growth. It is part of several compounds in the plant like RNA, DNA, and so forth, and it encourages flowering in certain crops. Of course, in sugarcane we are not interested in flowering, but it induces good root growth in the plants. So retarded growth, stalk and internode short and slender, tillers reduced and crop maturity delayed. Mobile in plant, transferred from older leaves to the younger leaves. Therefore, deficiency symptom of phosphorus also come on lower leaves. Another typical deficiency symptom of phosphorus is dark green leaves. So leaves become dark green, but they may have some purple color or reddish color on them. So such kind of pigmentations are there on the leaves which are deficient in phosphorus. So you can check the purple discoloration also in this particular picture. Here you can see the purple color is appearing. Here also you can see purple color on leaves. What are the soil conditions that favor the phosphorus deficiency? Similar to nitrogen, if organic matter is deficient, then you will have phosphorus deficiency, or alkaline and calcareous soil. Phosphorus is present in unavailable form. It gets fixed, and soils exhausted by intensive cropping are also deficient in phosphorus, and if the topsoil is removed, then also your soils will be deficient in phosphorus. And particularly acid soils where pH is less than 6, or alkaline soil where pH is between 7.5 to 8.5. Under severe acidic conditions, phosphorus is precipitated as iron phosphate and aluminum phosphate, hence its availability low. Similarly, under alkaline condition, it gets fixed as calcium phosphate or sometimes tricalcium phosphate, and then it can go to octacalcium phosphate, etc., etc. So therefore, in alkaline pH, availability of phosphorus also decreases. Potassium deficiency, potassium is also important, particularly in translocation of photosynthesis. It is also important for opening and closing of stomata, etc. Deficiency results in on the lower leaves because it is mobile in the plant system. So K deficient plants are susceptible to drought and diseases, reduced growth, slender stalk, decreased translocation of photosynthesis from leaves. It is mobile in plant, therefore deficiency first come on older leaves. What are the symptoms? Yellow, orange chlorosis at leaf tip and margins, progresses towards base of old leaves. Older leaves become brown and scorched from tips and along margin. So these kind of typical symptoms are called as marginal firing and tip burning. Red discoloration on upper midrib surface in older leaves is the typical symptom of K deficiency. Now you can see in this picture, this is how potassium deficiency is seen in sugarcane. Here also you can see the margins of the leaf are getting yellow, and after a certain time, if the deficiency continues, this yellow color will turn to brown, and that part will die or will become necrotic. Now soil conditions favoring K deficiency. Soils formed from parent material, basically it was low in potassium. Light texture soils where K has been leached by heavy rainfall or irrigations. Soils low in organic matter, soils with wide sodium is to potassium ratio or magnesium is to potassium ratio or calcium is to potassium ratio. Acid soils having pH less than 6. It is important to note that K leaching can also occur, particularly in areas where heavy rainfall is there or overuse of irrigation is there. And in those conditions, if the cation exchange capacity of the soil is low, very low, and you apply fast potassium from outside, then K leaching can also happen. Now calcium deficiency, as we know, it is secondary nutrient for plant growth. So stalks become weak and slender, growth of roots and tops restricted, and basically it is immobile in the plants. So therefore deficiency symptom will come on the tip, on the younger tissues or on the younger leaves of the plant. So youngest leaves get distorted and then necrotic, dieback of tips and margins. Sometimes tips of young leaves remain joined together and look like hooks, or it looks like a ladder also. Old leaves may show rusty appearance and die prematurely. You can see this is the ladder-like structure. You can see 1 step, 2 step, 3 step, 4 step, and likewise. So such are very typical symptom of calcium deficiency. You can see the tips of 2 leaves or 3 leaves can be joined together, and in another case also tips are joining. So these symptoms belong to calcium deficiency in sugarcane. Conditions favoring calcium deficiency: acid soils that have been leached by heavy rainfall, sodic soils rich in exchangeable sodium. So acid soils are generally deficient in calcium as well as in magnesium. So soils with high soluble aluminum and low exchangeable K, strongly acid peak and muck soils, acid soils having pH less than 6.5, and in alkaline soils also having pH more than 8.5. Under these conditions we can find calcium deficiency. Sulfur deficiency, stunted growth and slender stalk, immobile in plant, therefore deficiency first visible on younger leaves. Whole plant appears pale green to pale yellow. Paleness on entire leaf, affecting veins and interveinal tissue uniformly. Leaves are narrow and short, also show a purplish tinge on margins. You can see uniform chlorosis and paleness of sugarcane leaf. This is also uniform chlorosis on sugarcane leaf. Soil conditions that favor the sulfur deficiencies. So soils which are low in organic matter or light textured sandy soils that in that the sulfate leaching has happened, they may be deficient. So it is possible that sulfate can leach down through the irrigation water or by the rainfall water. And soils which are low in organic matter are also low in sulfur, because some proteins contain sulfur, and if protein or if organic matter is less, that means proteins are less and sulfur is also less. Soils exhausted by intensive cropping are deficient or derived from a parent material which itself is deficient in sulfur. So, under these conditions, and particularly when acid soils are there in which pH is less than 6. Iron deficiency, of course, iron is an important micronutrient and basically it is immobile in plant. Therefore, deficiency symptoms come on younger leaves, and there will be pale yellow chlorosis in interveinal areas, and in case of iron deficiency, the veins remain green, only interveinal area gets yellow color. Necrosis may occur on younger leaves. Severe deficiency, whole plant may become chlorotic. Newly emerged leaves may appear completely devoid of chlorophyll. Means in the end, such kind of leaves can become white in color, and then if deficiency continues, they can dry up. So, you can see iron deficiency in sugarcane. You can see this leaf, interveinal chlorosis, veins remain green, and in this case everything has become white due to iron deficiency. In the last case also, you can see this leaf will not recover back. It has already lost chlorophyll. Now, soil conditions favoring iron deficiency: sandy soils with low total iron, alkaline and calcareous soils where solubility of iron is very low. Means iron may be there in the soil, but it is not in soluble form, it is not in ferrous form or ferric form. Peat and muck soils where organic matter ties up iron. Acid soils with high soluble zinc, manganese, copper or nickel. These metallic cations can also interact with iron and decrease its availability. Alkaline soils having pH more than 7.5 may also be deficient in iron. Now, zinc deficiency. Zinc is getting a very important micronutrient in India, as about 50% soils are deficient in zinc. Therefore, supplementation or application of zinc to the soil has been found quite useful under many circumstances. So, retarded plant growth, restricted internode development, reduced sugar, tilling and malleable canes. Overall, you can see that the zinc deficiency can result in reduced yield as well as reduced quality. Quality of sugarcane is mainly with respect to the sugar content or sugar yield. Fairly immobile in the plant system, not readily translocated from older to young leaves. Therefore, deficiency visible on middle leaf or subsequently on younger leaves. Yellow or white chlorosis develops between green midvein and margins at base of young leaves. See the deficiency symptom of zinc in sugarcane leaves. Now, soil conditions favoring zinc deficiency: leached, light sandy soils where zinc is low, alkaline and calcareous soils, recently leveled soils, soil where high rates of phosphatic fertilizers used, acid soils with pH less than 5 or alkaline soils with pH more than 7.5, and also under waterlogged conditions. Under waterlogged conditions, zinc gets precipitated, its availability is low, and there is normally antagonistic effect of phosphorus and zinc on each other. Now, you must have checked that what kind of losses are occurring due to deficiency of different nutrients. So, all such nutrients should be supplied to the soil so that plant growth is not affected by their deficiencies. So, in this case, we need to manage all kind of nutrients so that their management supplies the nutrient in balanced amount as well as in adequate amounts. So, let us try to understand nutrient management. So, sugarcane being the long duration crop with high biomass production, crop removes large amount of nutrients, thus need of nutrient is quite high. See, you are harvesting about 90 to 100 tons of sugarcane per hectare. That means it must be removing lot of nutrients from the soil. Thus, we need to replenish back all those nutrients which have been removed by the crop. And not just crop, then certain nutrients are also lost by several mechanisms in soil, like leaching or like denitrification or like immobilization. So, Indian soils are usually deficient in several macro and micronutrients. Location specific, judicious and balanced nutrient management practices need to be followed to reap benefits from this crop. Now, you see state-wise fertilizer recommendations kg per hectare for sugarcane. So, you see the recommendations are quite high for nitrogen, quite high for phosphorus and also quite high for potassium. Take the case of Andhra Pradesh, 112 kg nitrogen, 100 kg phosphorus and 120 kg K2O. Similarly, you can see for Karnataka, 250 kg nitrogen, 75 kg phosphorus and 190 kg potassium. So, for other states also we can see, for example, for coastal Tamil Nadu, it is 275 kg nitrogen, 63 kg P2O5 and 113 kg K2O per hectare. Similarly, you can check for West Bengal, 150 kg nitrogen, 85 kg phosphorus and 60 kg K2O per hectare. So, overall you can see that large amounts of fertilizers or nutrients are required by sugarcane crop. So, actually nitrogen is known to increase the millable canes and their weights. Rate of nitrogen varies from, on an average, you can see the range can be 120 to 200 kg per hectare for annual crop, that is in subtropical parts like Uttar Pradesh, Punjab, Haryana, etc. and 250 to 400 kg for Adh-Sali crop. Adh-Sali is taking about 18 months and it is mainly in Maharashtra, Karnataka states. So, where you can see the requirement is very high, 250 to 400 kg per hectare of nitrogen. Application of nitrogen should be tailored for adequate availability during tilling. There should not be deficiency of nitrogen during tilling stage. In UP and Bihar, entire nitrogen can be applied below cane sets in furrows at planting or within 90 days in 2 to 3 splits. Split application of nitrogen is better because it increases nitrogen use efficiency and promotes tilling also. Punjab and Haryana, half of recommended nitrogen be placed below cane sets at planting and other half top dressed or drilled along cane rows during the April-June. So, band placement can be done and if possible, this top dressed nitrogen can be incorporated in the soil. That would give better result. Autumn planted sugarcane in North India, about 1/3 nitrogen applied at planting and remaining in 3 equal splits in March, April and May. Under rain-fed condition, whole 75 kg nitrogen should be applied at the time of sowing, which will be adequate. Under tropical conditions, means Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, etc., nitrogen applied in 2 to 4 splits, in different proportion to get maximum nitrogen use efficiency. So, 2 to 4 means more number of splits are required in tropical belts, mainly because of longer duration of the crop. And certain nitrification inhibitors such as N-Serve, AM, thiourea, DCD is dicyandiamide, potassium azide and tetrazole and slow release N fertilizer like sulfur coated urea can increase nitrogen use efficiency. So, it is really a good news from our country that now we got sulfur coated urea, which is known as urea gold. It can be tried in sugarcane also. It responds well to organic sources of nitrogen, which makes it feasible for the adoption of INM. Now, coming to phosphorus management, whatever recommended phosphorus is there, that should be applied at the time of sowing or planting in basal form. At ICR, Indian Institute of Sugarcane Research, Lucknow, soil application of phosphorus at the rate of 30 kg P2O5 per hectare showed an improvement in plant ratoon cane yield. In other multi-location trials, response to phosphorus was observed up to 60 kg P2O5 per hectare. P is recommended at 50 to 80, 30 to 90, 120 to 180, 60 to 100 kg P2O5 per hectare in northern, southern, western and eastern parts of country respectively. That means for northern parts it is 50 to 80 kg, for southern parts it is 30 to 90 kg, for western parts you can see it is high 120 to 180 kg because it includes Maharashtra, Karnataka, and then 60 to 100 kg per hectare for eastern parts of the country. Phosphorus be applied on the basis of soil test, and this crop is able to utilize only 10 to 20% of the applied phosphorus. The phosphorus use efficiency or phosphorus recovery by sugarcane crop is very low, and it is in other crops also where we see low phosphorus use efficiency. So, phosphorus must be used judiciously and efficiently. Crop absorbs about 20 to 25% of phosphorus up to tilling and remaining 75 to 80% during elongation phase. Length, girth, population and yield of millable canes is influenced by phosphorus application. Relative efficiency of P fertilizer has been found to be in the order of DAP has the best efficiency, followed by single superphosphate and then Masuri rock phosphate. Now coming to the potassium management, potassium helps in synthesis and translocation of proteins as well as carbohydrates involved in sugarcane sucrose accumulation. So thus in starchy crops or in such kind of crops where they are rich in carbohydrates or sugars, potassium has very important role, particularly in translocation of the photosynthase from source to the sink. Considering K status of Indian soils, its response is inconsistent from state to state. The soil test is necessary. K has a role in plant water relations, and top dressing at late stage minimizes adverse effect of severe soil moisture stress during drought. So it can help to better manage the drought condition also. It gives plant strength to tolerate the abiotic stresses, particularly drought conditions. Experimental results show that sugarcane responds significantly to K application up to 120 kg per hectare in terms of cane yield and sucrose percentage. K is recommended at 40 to 90, 75 to 190, 120 to 150 and 60 to 120 K2O per hectare. For example, for northern states, the recommendation of K is 40 to 90. For southern states, 75 to 190. For western states, 120 to 150. And for eastern state, it is 60 to 120. So this is how K recommendations have been evolved in the country. Now sulfate ion accompanying K is preferable to chloride ion in view of the better effect on tilling, cane yield and sugar accumulation. Sometimes source also affect the quality of the product. For example, here potassium sulfate may give better result than potassium chloride. Potassium chloride is your muriate of potash. So this chloride ion can interfere with the quality of the sugarcane. Therefore, to supply potassium, potassium sulfate should be preferred over muriate of potash. Management of secondary nutrients. Secondary nutrients are calcium, magnesium and sulfur. So among secondary nutrients, role of calcium and sulfur has been found crucial in this crop. In deficient soils, application of 30 kg sulfur per hectare has shown a good response in sugarcane. Of different sulfur sources, ammonium sulfate proved best, followed by iron pyrite and elemental sulfur. Gypsum can be used in alkali soils to supply calcium and sulfur both. Lime can be used in acid soils to supply calcium. In field condition, deficiency of manganese in crop exhibiting chlorosis has been reported from central UP. With passage of time, deficiency of more micronutrients like zinc, iron and copper have been observed in sugarcane crop. Therefore, foliar application is effective in increasing cane yield in UP and Punjab. In Bihar, application of zinc, manganese and iron each at the rate of 25 kg per hectare and borax at the rate of 5 kg per hectare in combination with FYM in calcareous soils improved cane yield. So, for example, if you are supplying zinc, it can be supplied through zinc sulphate at the rate of 25 kg per hectare. That should be zinc sulphate heptahydrate. If it is monohydrate, then the quantity will be less. Similarly, manganese can be supplied by manganese sulphate at the rate of 25 kg per hectare and iron can be supplied by iron sulphate. Otherwise, foliar spraying of these nutrients can also be done. For zinc, say 0.5 to 1%, for manganese 1%, for iron maybe 0.5 to 1.5% foliar solution can be sprayed on sugarcane. Fertilizer application schedule. Fertilizer application in sugarcane is guided by soil texture, planting season and irrigation management. For a 10 to 12 months crop, time of application may be restricted to first 45 to 90 days, that is period of tillering. Fertilizer nitrogen we applied in 2 to 3 splits and completed before onset of monsoon. Reduction in number of fertilizer nitrogen splits suggested for 18 months asali crop where it can be done in 3 splits, 10% at planting, 40% after 8 weeks and 50% at the time of earthing up. P and K be applied as far as possible basally, where chances of leaching are more, as in coastal Tamil Nadu, 2 splits of potassium, one at planting and other at 6 months after planting are recommended. So, phosphorus split application should not be done in any case, but under certain conditions K application can be done in splits. Now, organic nutrient sources and integrated nutrient management. So, it is always suggested to go for integrated nutrient management. Many times we just apply chemical fertilizer to supply the nutrients. We forget the importance of organic manure in the soil. So, therefore, as far as possible, nutrients should also be supplied through the organic sources. So, in recent times, cane yield throughout India has either plateaued or even declined in some states. Besides socio-economic constraints, most significant reason is intensive cultivation coupled with inadequate nutrient supply. If the nutrients are not supplied or replenished back into the soil, then there will be nutrient depletion or nutrient mining in the soil, which is not good for sustainability of the soil health. Consequently, an integrated approach involving chemical, organic and biological sources of nutrients need to be adapted for long-term soil fertility. So, biological sources may be your biofertilizers. Use of organic sources with chemical fertilizers has proved superior over their individual component. That means it is INM. Moreover, organic sources increase nutrient use efficiency and bring economy in fertilizer use. Organic manures help in correcting emerging deficiency of nutrients other than NPK, particularly micronutrients. So, all these organic sources will not only supply the nutrients, but it will also improve other properties of the soil. It will improve microbial activity in soil, it will improve physical properties of the soil as well. INM strategies in sugarcane include integration of organics with fertilizers, nutrient management through legume including green manuring, crop residue cycling with an accent on input economy, biomanuring integrating biofertilizer with organics, utilizing sugar factory byproducts or waste to supply plant nutrients like pressed mud. Pressed mud can be important part of INM practices in sugarcane. Similarly, lot of trash is produced by the sugarcane crop, and this trash can be converted into compost, and that can be recycled back to the soil. Now, addition of bulky organic manure improves physical properties of soil, creates ideal rhizospheric environment, providing congenial soil-water relations for better nutrient release and availability. Besides supplying major plant nutrients, organic manures supply micronutrients also. Application of FIM or green manure improve production efficiency of fertilizer nitrogen and more so at its optimum level. So, there are number of benefits of combining organic sources, biofertilizer and chemical fertilizers, and it is always advisable to go for green manuring or intercropping of certain legumes can be followed. Averaged over 258 experiments conducted at 19 centers, response of sugarcane to FIM at the rate of 25 ton per hectare was found to be 8 tons cane per hectare. All India coordinated research project trials on integration of FIM compost at the rate of 10 tons per hectare with RDF. RDF is recommended dose of fertilizer and biofertilizer including azotobacter, azospirillum, PSB etc. PSB is phosphate solubilizing bacteria. Regularly gave high yield, enhanced nutrient use efficiency and soil health across sugarcane producing zones of the country. Now, let us see how these legumes are useful when we include them as green manuring. So, what they are doing, transfer of nitrogen from legume to non-legume during same season and carryover effect to subsequent crop is an important part of INM. So, if we include legumes as an intercrop, there is current transfer of nitrogen to the associated cereal plant or associated sugarcane. Roughly about 40% nitrogen fixed by the legume can be transferred during its season, and then there will be some residual effect or carryover effect of this legume on the succeeding crop. Generally, dual purpose legumes intercropped in sugarcane based cropping systems, after picking of pods, residue are incorporated as green manure. At ICR, Indian Institute of Sugarcane Research, Lucknow, in situ incorporation of intercropped cowpea in spring sugarcane, after picking the green vegetable pods, added 70.6 kg nitrogen per hectare, while Sesbania green manuring added 45.9 kg nitrogen per hectare. Means it was quite beneficial and it could have saved the nitrogen also. In winter initiated ratoon, intercropped berseem after cutting of fodder left 249.3 kg nitrogen per hectare in 0 to 15 centimeter and 240.5 kg nitrogen per hectare in 15 to 30 centimeter soil layer. That means berseem has enriched the soil with nitrogen. Now we come to the water management, and after rice crop this sugarcane consumes lot of water. So it is a water guzzling crop. In India, sugarcane is mostly irrigated crop and 95 to 100% is irrigated. However, irrigated area under crop in Assam, Bihar and West Bengal is just 2.2%, 23.7% and 44.6% irrigated. However, in most other sugarcane producing states, it is almost 100% irrigated. Since sugarcane claims 6% of total water resources of India, the limited availability of water is major factor responsible for low average yield in the country. Water requirement of sugarcane crop ranges between 1400 millimeter to 2500 millimeter, being lowest in Bihar and highest in Maharashtra. So you can see quite a wider range starting from 1400 millimeter to 2500 millimeter. So this range is because of variability in the climate. In states where it takes about say 18 months or long duration crop, and also under tropical conditions, the water requirement is high. Say take case of Bihar, which has subtropical conditions. So under this condition, first thing is that crop is only for 12 months, and second thing is it is subtropical climate. So therefore the water requirement is less. Rainfall is major contributor to total water requirement, as highest water requiring grand growth phase, wherein rate of dry matter accumulation is highest, coincides with rainy season. So there is normally no need to apply irrigation during rainy season. Factors like soil texture, planting season and weather determine the total water requirement in different sugar cane growing states. So we can check crop water requirement of sugar cane in different Indian states. So you can see in Bihar it is 140 hectare centimeter, or you can say 1400 millimeter. In Uttar Pradesh it is 160 to 180 hectare centimeter, Punjab 170 to 180, almost same. And in tropical India, Andhra Pradesh it is 160 to 170, and Tamil Nadu it is 180 hectare centimeter. Now you can see Karnataka it is 200 to 240. It is in tropical area. It is in tropical area, not in subtropical. It is in tropical. Maharashtra, planted cane seasonal crop, see too high. In UP it was 150, 160, but here in Maharashtra it is 250 for seasonal crop. Plant cane pre-seasonal, it is 300 hectare centimeter. For plant cane Adhasali it is highest, 350 hectare centimeter. For Ratun also quite high, 300 hectare centimeter, and in Madhya Pradesh it is 270 hectare centimeter. So water required to be applied through irrigations varies from 60 to 200 centimeter in various states, and rest can come from rainfall. In subtropical region, planting in February, March, 60 to 80 centimeter water applied by 6 to 8 irrigation, 4 to 6 prior to onset of monsoon at tilling phase, and remaining 2 after withdrawal of monsoon at maturity phase. So 6 to 8 irrigations are enough in subtropical areas where depth of each irrigation can be 10 centimeter. Irrigation is stopped 1 month before harvesting in subtropical region to improve sucrose accumulation. Otherwise, there will be dilution of the sugar. Comparatively high amount of water, 120 to 200 centimeter, and more frequent irrigation. See very large number of irrigation, 20 to 36 are needed in tropical states like Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka and Maharashtra. Adhasali crop of Maharashtra needs irrigation at weekly intervals. Irrigation water requirement up to 250 to 270 centimeter in Maharashtra Adhasali crop. Adhasali crop takes about 18 months time. It has been observed that yields are higher when more water is available during tilling phase. Now we go to the irrigation scheduling part. In subtropical north, irrigation at critical growth stages has been worked out. Tilling phase is really most critical. March to June has been found to be most critical. Normally 7.5 to 10 centimeter of water is applied in each irrigation. Experimental result indicated that irrigation at entire first, second and third orders of tilling ensure highest cane yield. Means these are different stages in a phase, tilling phase. First order means primary tiller, secondary tiller and then tertiary tiller. Under limited water availability, if water is available say for one irrigation, it should be given at third order of tilling, and if two irrigations available, then second and third order of tilling are most responsive. In tropical India, 1 or 2 irrigations are given at an interval of 3 to 4 days after planting to help the sets germinate and seedlings to establish well. Thereafter, in absence of rain, cane is irrigated every 10 to 12 days during its growing period. In dry areas and sandy loam soils, irrigation may be needed at an interval as short as 8 days. Towards time of harvesting, irrigation frequency is reduced, and just before harvest, irrigation is withheld for about a month. Irrigating crop based on IWCP ratio has been found to result in highest cane yield with limited use of water. So, this IWCP approach of irrigation scheduling is also good. IW stands for irrigation water and CP is cumulative pan evaporation, and they have got some IWCPE ratio crop coefficient. So, crop coefficients have been defined for each crop based upon the month in which you are going to irrigate the crop, and IW is the irrigation water depth. It can be fixed at 7.5 or 10 centimeter depending upon the need, and then whenever then the data on cumulative pan evaporation can be fetched, and then the time of application of water can be decided. Optimum ratio varies from 0.6 to 0.8 in different sugarcane growing regions. Irrigation at 1 IWCP ratio in Haryana recorded significantly higher yield, 70.4 ton per hectare over 0.75, 66.4 ton per hectare and 0.5. So, best ratio was 1, not 0.75 and not 0.5. Irrigation methods. Surface irrigation is widely adopted. Farmers of subtropical regions adopt flood irrigation because of convenience. However, a lot of water is wasted. Flood irrigation is never advisable in any crop, but many times it is practiced. To make water use more efficient, furrow irrigation is advocated, wherein water is applied in furrows between 2 crop rows. Length of furrow ranges from 10 to 30 meter or more depending upon soil type and slope of the land. Serpentine method of furrow irrigation is practiced for the 18-month crop Adsali in many parts of central and tropical India. Water use efficiency was found to increase significantly at Lucknow by adopting skip furrow method. Skip furrow method, what we are doing, instead of irrigating all rows and inter-row spaces, one row is skipped and therefore alternate furrows are irrigated. This is the skip furrow method of irrigation. Now, frequent droughts and scarcity of water in Maharashtra and Karnataka adversely impact sugarcane cultivation. Drip irrigation has been found to address above concern. It requires 940 millimeter water per hectare as against 2150 millimeter in flood method. So, you can imagine how much saving of water can be there by drip irrigation system. In Maharashtra, many farmers have adopted drip irrigation system in sugarcane, but in subtropical India or say northern India, it is not adopted. Practically, it is not adopted. So, there may be more water use here. A sprinkler system may be employed for undulating topography areas where surface irrigation is not feasible. So, under certain condition of sugarcane cultivation, moisture conservation is also an important aspect. So, covering soil surface with trash mulch is an effective method of moisture conservation. In sugarcane, it is done by uniform, say 10 centimeter thick, spreading of trash in inter-row spaces at completion of germination, 40 days after planting. Mulching, it reduces evaporation, maintains soil moisture at higher level for longer time, reduces weed growth and adds organic matter. There are definitely number of benefits of mulching, and in addition to all these advantages, it also moderates the soil temperature and increases the moisture. That means the microbial activity in soil will also improve. So many benefits are there for mulching. Water deficit reduces nitrogen uptake and yield in water stress conditions. So, certain point of time sugarcane may also suffer from water stress. So, what are important strategies? Number one is that grow drought tolerant varieties. So, many drought tolerant varieties are available for different regions. For example, CO 94008, CO 8371, CO 87025, etc. in peninsular zone, COC 01061 in East Coast zone, CO 87268 and LOLK 94184 in North Central zone, and CO 98014 and CO Pant 97222 and COH 119 for Northwest zone. So, varieties are available for drought conditions. Adoption of drip irrigation system if we have shortage of water. Spray of potassium either alone or in combination with urea at very low concentration. Cane yield can also be improved by spray of kaolin 6% during drought period. So, number of strategies and options are available if crop suffers from drought. Management of waterlogged condition waterlogged conditions. So, sometimes waterlogging can also happen in sugarcane fields. So, though it can tolerate waterlogging with partial submergence for quite long periods, the prolonged submergence and swampy conditions adversely affect the growth, yield and quality because of shortage of oxygen supply to the roots. Adequate drainage facility be adopted. In such situation, early planting is beneficial. Crop planted in first week of February yields higher than planted in March and April. And management continues. Autumn planting is more beneficial. When flooding occurs in rainy season, crop has already attained sufficient vigor and height. Trench planting proves better than the flat planting as roots penetrate deeper into the soil, which prevents the lodging of cane. Seed rate should be increased to 1.5 times to compensate for the effect of tiller mortality. Spray of urea during waterlogging increases yield. Support against lodging may be provided by early earthing up in May and June. Crop matures earlier under waterlogged conditions, hence crop must be harvested as early as possible. This practice helps maintain quality of standing cane for better sugar recovery. So, number of practices have been recommended under waterlogged conditions so that the bad effect of waterlogging can be minimized and farmer can get good yields under waterlogged conditions. Now, we go to the last topic of this lecture, which is weed management. So, extent of loss to cane yield due to weeds varies from 10% to total crop failure, depending upon weed intensity and crop stage. So, here weeds can cause severe damage in sugarcane crop, particularly during initial phases of growth. In subtropical belt, the Cyprus rotundus is the major weed, which can affect its growth adversely. Initial slow growth of crop provides ample opportunity for weeds to germinate and establish. Warm and humid microclimate during larger part of growing season in north and throughout growing season in south also favors weed growth. So, there are many factors which favor the weed growth, and it is also important factor that it is widely spaced crop. So, lot of free space is there, and that free space is easily occupied by the weeds, and these weeds can take the resources that were actually meant for the crop. Now, cultural practices such as wider spacing between cane rows, frequent irrigations and heavy doses of manures and fertilizer favor weed growth. Weeds also provide shelter to certain insect pest and disease causing pathogen. So you can see this is Cyprus rotundus. Number of weeds are there under subtropical climate of North India: Amaranthus spinosus, Amaranthus viridis, Asphodilus tenuifolius, Anagallus arvensis, Chenopodium album, Convolvulus arvensis, Cynodon dactylon, Cyprus, Comelina bengalensis, Digeria arvensis, Euphorbia, Ipomia, Phyllanthus neruri, Portulaca oleracea, Sorghum helipens, and Trianthema portula castrum. And most problematic weed is Cyprus rotundus, found in all three seasons in UP. In subtropical climate, South India, Cynodon dactylon, Cyprus species, Comelina bengalensis, Cleome viscosa, Coccinia indica, Lepida nodiflora, Eclipta alba, Ipomia aquatica, Trianthema portula castrum, and Sporobulus dander. So number of weeds are there, and this crop is most sensitive to heavy weed infestation during its tilling phase. Subtropical conditions initial 60 to 120 days after planting are quite critical. In tropical India, however, initial 90 days are more critical. That means if weeds are not controlled during this initial phase, then there will be maximum loss of sugarcane yield as well as quality. Mechanical and manual methods of weed control are generally followed by the farmers. More so is mechanical method. They go for hoeing in the spaces between two rows. Interculture, bullock drawn or tractor drawn implements are commonly used or adopted. Now you have very widely spaced crop in trench method and so on. So where certain implements can be used. Removal of weeds using spade and hand from inter and intra-row spaces. However, hand weeding is not much effective against certain broad-leaved weeds like Cyprus rotundus. Manual or mechanical hoeing at 30, 60 and 90 days after planting effectively minimize yield loss. Trash mulching and intercropping have been found quite effective. In ratoon, trash mulching at the rate of 10 tons per hectare just after ratoon initiation has been found useful. Intercropping with chickpea or peas in autumn and green gram, black gram or cowpea in spring is useful for control of striga. Sowing of trap crops like andropogon, sorghum. Above crop induce dormant seed of striga to germinate, which can be killed by mechanical methods. Some herbicides are available like pre-emergence application of atrazine 2 kg AI per hectare followed by 2,4-D spray 1 kg per hectare at 60 days after planting, and binding bead like Coccinia, Ipomia, Convolvulus arvensis pose threat in coastal areas. For their effective control, a pre-emergence spray of metribuzin at the rate of 1.25 kg per hectare is recommended. Integration of various methods is necessary, means IWM. For example, pre-emergence spray of atrazine followed by 2,4-D at 60 days after planting plus 1 hoeing at 90 days after planting was quite effective. Among new herbicide, pre-emergence use of sulfentrazone 0.5 kg plus atrazine 2 kg per hectare was quite useful. Dear students, hope you enjoyed this lecture. Thank you very much.